Good evening, everybody. It's time for another weekly Wednesday ramble. So, as of now, I am sort of reeling from a midterm I had last night. I had my CS70 first midterm. It was not fun. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because our professor, the way he structures his tests is there's sort of a 30-point buffer by his tests where it's still out of 100, but there is a potential of 130 points that you can get, which means that you don't have to do some questions, and the reason he does that, he says, is so he can design the test around people not expected to finish before the time is out. So, it'll be interesting to see how I did. I think I did okay. I could have done better. I know that for a fact. There's some stupid mistakes I made, which is pretty standard for me. I make stupid mistakes like there's no end on tests like that. So, last Friday, I went to a orchestra concert here on campus. It was the UC Berkeley Symphony Orchestra, and they performed Dvorak's New World Symphony and Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, and it was one of the coolest concerts I've ever been to, just off of the music. Like, I know the solo in the second movement, like everyone knows, and I know parts of the fourth movement because they were in One Piece. They used the fourth movement of the New World Symphony during a section in One Piece, and it's awesome. So I knew that. I'd never heard the whole symphony before. So this was stinking awesome, hearing the whole thing. It's a really cool piece of music. So I was already really excited after the first half. And then they played the Rite of Spring, which I'd only heard before in Fantasia, because it was sort of the quintessential like dinosaur scene where they animated dinosaurs to the Rite of Spring, and it's stinking classic. They have a representation of that in the train ride on Disneyland. If you never knew that, when the train that goes around Disneyland that you can get to different parts of the park from, when you're going from, I believe, Toontown to Tomorrowland on the train, when it quote-unquote takes you through time, you pass a T-Rex and a Stegosaurus fighting, and it's exactly the same as in Fantasia when they're fighting to the Rite of Spring. So, I'd never heard it live before. Oh my gosh, that is a insane piece of music. Like, I do not think words that I sing now could quite do it justice. The amount of just like the beginning itself, again, is like the bassoon solo. That's sort of the part that everyone really like knows right off the bat. Oh, the Rite of Spring, the that solo right at the beginning. So there's that, and then it just goes into mass hysteria and craziness, and it's such a cool piece of music. I had a blast at the concert, and then after the concert, went straight into a 3-day weekend. Which normally 3-day weekend, yay, more time to chill. Sadly, that wasn't the case. The whole world just crashed down on me this weekend, where I got sick. I'm still like a little under the weather. I don't know if you can see that on me at all. I don't know. But I got sick, and then had a ton of homework over the weekend. I got no downtime to like recover from being sick, which is not what you want. If you're sick, you want to chill and like not do anything for a little bit. But I had to work. So my body was already on the fritz from being sick, and I had to push it even more to get my work done. It was not a fun weekend. It didn't help that there was no one at the dorm. Everyone went home for the 3-day weekend, so it's just like no one even to talk to around here. I just have to silently bear my workload and my sickness and try and make it. And I've survived. I'm still alive, as me making this video proves. Yeah, time for I don't know, I might make this into a segment. I probably won't, because I doubt I will have new material to talk about every week, but a semi-weekly little bit that I'm going to start right now is a little sort of manga overview of stuff I've read this past week, which is basically one new thing. It's a Korean manga called Tower of God. Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. It's very, very good. It's interestingly done because it's all like vertical. Like, it's not, depending on where you read it online, they'll break it up into pages because that's what typically is done. But this one is just a single long strip that's vertical. And it works so well with like building suspense because they can drag out a moment by making it take longer to scroll down. So you'll get through like something will happen, and then it'll sort of fade to black, and then you keep scrolling down, and there will be like a single voice bubble, and they manage to drag that pause out by having a larger space of black that you have to scroll down. It's very well designed that way, and then the plot is stinking amazing. It's all very character driven. There is a lot in terms of character development going on, and it's very cool. I highly recommend it. Like, I caught up last week. I was about to say I wasn't sure if I'd caught up, but no, I've definitely caught up, because if I hadn't caught up, I'd still be reading it right now. So I'm definitely caught up. It's not done yet. If you're interested in reading it, I highly recommend giving it a shot. I cannot believe I almost forgot to talk about Twitch Plays Pokemon. How did I forget about that? I stopped recording, then switched over to Google Chrome and saw it running. I was like, oh, I forgot to talk about that. That's sort of an interesting thing that happened. So, for the past week, there's been a really cool event going on Twitch called Twitch Plays Pokemon, in which, like, if you're not aware of what Twitch is, it's a video game streaming site where they have the game and then a chat. And what some guy set up, he set up an emulator for Pokemon Red, and has a bot running that is scanning the chat for commands, so if you type up into the chat, the character will move up. And so you have everyone sort of typing in commands for this character, and he's playing Pokemon. So you've obviously up, down, left, right, BA, start, select. It's really stinking cool. But the best way to describe it, imagine 5 people controlling the same game. Like, it's a single-player game, but somehow it's sort of a split controller, so everyone's inputs are getting thrown in sequentially into, like, at a time into this game. So you can imagine how much chaos that would be. Now imagine there's almost 100,000 people controlling the same game. It is insane. Like, things do not happen. Like, they end up naming Pokemon things like ABBBBBBK parenthesis, or I think currently it's like AAAAJ something. I don't remember. There's some weird names. They had a Hitmonlee named CCC and then accidentally released it. They've released a number of Pokemon, but there's all sorts of little inside jokes that have happened regarding like the HELIX fossil, because they'll end up in a battle and the commands happen 20 seconds later, so people are inputting commands in the chat for things that haven't happened in the game yet. So they end up in a fight, and they'll get into the item menu and just start spamming the HELIX fossil. And it's like, oh, you can't do that. And they just keep asking the HELIX fossil, what do I do, HELIX fossil? So it's so much fun to watch. There's so much insanity going on at all the time. You'll have the character just starts just running in circles for no reason, because people aren't sure where to go, but everyone's still putting in commands anyway because they don't know what's going on. Like, frequently we'll end up in the options menu and just like screwing with the options of the game. And basically it's like, oh, it's hard to describe unless you're actually there, because there's so much going on at any time. It's one of the coolest things to happen, like gaming-wise on the internet in a while. Like, I think they have 4 badges? I don't think they got their 5th badge anytime soon. They've been running for 7 days. They were stuck for 25 hours in the Team Rocket hideout. It was quite entertaining. But yeah, no, I think that is actually now all I have to talk about. So I will talk to you guys next week.